Danny and I, very quickly started singing together, and like the singing was just really worked.
Most two guys that are the same age that do the same thing usually would have a competitive spirit.
And it's amazing. We walked in the door, and I had this sensation that I would be making music with this person for the rest of my life.
From the moment we met, it was like that.
Then we were sort of like, well, so can we write together? That was sort of the next issue.
He was like, "Do you want to go to a cabin and just try to write?" And obviously, I thought he was going to kill me, but he did. We went up,
Like within 2 days, we churned out 9 songs.
and that's really what you're hearing.
I think when you're writing a song, you're creating a space, you're creating a world where people are going to inhabit it.
Songs were originally meant to be sang in groups.
And I think really meeting Danny really changed that. I really have a sense now that when I write a song, of course it's about me and it comes from me and it comes from my personal experience, but it's going to be something that people are going to share. It came out like, I think, the things that you feel most passionate about, it came out of something very, very simple. What we've been doing, with this name, Fairytales for the Fatherless, and writing these songs is like we've been actually making fairy tales. And of course, they need to have a visual representation.
Let's just go for it, like the biggest idea that we can possibly have. And we had this amazing friend in Danny Ward that was kind of rearing to go on something like abstract and big form and big ideas.
You have 2 things that you can do. You can either like make something and then see what the world thinks of it, or you can make your own world.
If this idea, if these songs, if this name, Fairytales for the Fatherless, if this past 2 years of us kind of being a bit like Where the Wild Things Are and writing these songs and like, let's build a shrine to it.
Those are the most beautiful moments, I think, in creativity, when you realize that you've kind of been preparing for this moment for years without even realizing it. One thing that's really interesting about this project is that it's not, it's completely homegrown.
This has been just more like really exploring what Fairy Tales for the Fatherless, what that even means. It's an art project in the purest sense.
You have to have the idea for the song, you have to write the song, and then like every step of the way, just like a child, like you have to bring it into the world, and like it's like a long, long process of being with this very fragile thing. I've done records in big studios or whatever, and you come back and you're like, oh, that sounds like a record made in a big studio.
We're using what we've got, and like that's like a lot of brilliant people around us, and a couple of cameras, and a couple of microphones.
What we're really trying to say is something very simple. It's very universal.
We're just going to try and make the most beautiful thing with the resources we have.
And sometimes just capturing a moment is all you need to do. We have to resensitize ourselves because we get so desensitized to like, oh, if I don't do it this way, or if there aren't perfect conditions, no one's going to feel anything.
That choice that comes out of necessity is going to be a completely vibe decision.
It's so important to remember that, because a big budget can just cloud you to that. It can just desensitize you. Bogart Collective has a lot to do with also Luke Tedaldi, who's Danny's roommate and our really good friend.
I was in bed at like 7 a.m. Luke bursts in the door and he's like, Danny, I've got this idea. I see this party where everybody is just doing their own thing, like making their own art, and everybody like helps out with it. And it's called the Bogart Collective.
There was something really more like a family about it from the very beginning. People were really trying to see the good in each other and also trying to really like promote each other.
The record that we're working on is basically the soundtrack of it. Is like really birthed out of that year of weekly parties.
I really love his lyrics. So much of songwriting is just clearing out what's not essential, you know. And Danny has this way of um, really finding what the core idea of anything is. Not only does he have an incredible singing voice, but he's got a real voice as a storyteller, as a songwriter. It was really a treat, actually. Kind of at some point, I had to actually, because I'd only heard his songs, to actually sit down and with my own pen write out his lyrics. And it was this beautiful process of writing his lyrics out and just realizing how, like, every word was in its right place, and he was telling so much with so little, and just that beautiful simplicity is incredible.
He's able to take such big ideas and really lay them out in a beautiful fashion, in a thought out fashion. He knows like everything. He's a poet, you know, like that is what Paul is. There's a real sense of like having each other's back, like in the same way that I'm like, what's the point? And like, give me the word. He's like, let's go off on this journey and like let's explore some new places. And I think that like they've always just, you know, been a nice system of checks and balances on each other. So it's been good.